All right, so jumping into today's AI news, and this is kind of a meta moment, I guess you could say, because this whole deep dive into all the big AI happenings for Thursday, March 27th, 2025, which we're calling AI Daily Deep Dive. This whole thing was actually researched and put together entirely by, you guessed it, artificial intelligence.
That is interesting, yeah.
Yeah, so we're basically getting AI's take on, well, AI.
It's a very unique angle for sure to see what AI itself finds noteworthy as it develops at this, well, pretty breakneck speed.
For sure. It's been relentless. And you really see how AI is weaving itself into so many different parts of our lives these days. Today's top AI news touches on everything from art and the future of work to mental health and even how research is done. So why don't we start with this story that seems to have caught AI's attention, the fusion of AI and art.
Yeah, the big story here is this trend of using ChatGPT 4.0, the AI that can create images, to replicate the very recognizable Studio Ghibli style.
Now, for those of us who may not be animation buffs, could you remind us what makes Studio Ghibli's style so special? What is it about their work that AI is now trying to, well, copy?
Sure. So Studio Ghibli, the studio behind films like Spirited Away, it's led by this visionary director, Hayao Miyazaki. And their films are known for this. There's this really distinctive hand-drawn aesthetic. It's incredibly detailed. Their worlds are so vibrant and imaginative. Their characters so expressive. And it's all done with this really amazing, like, human touch, with painstaking care put into every single frame.
And that's what AI is now attempting to reproduce.
Yeah, exactly. So you can imagine why this has sparked a lot of discussion, especially among artists, because you have this technology that can now seemingly mimic years of honed artistic skill, and it does raise concerns about whether it might, devalue the work and effort that goes into developing a unique style.
It definitely brings up some questions about the nature of art itself. Like, what makes a piece of art valuable? Could AI-generated art potentially turn something that was once considered deeply personal and human into a commodity?
Absolutely. Those are key questions, and ones that artists are grappling with right now. And it's worth noting that Miyazaki himself is pretty strongly against AI in art. He's called it an affront to life and creativity.
Wow, so he's clearly not on board with this trend. But even with that sentiment, it seems like it's gaining a ton of traction, isn't it?
It really is. You see it all over social media, especially on Twitter, with people transforming photos and memes into this Ghibli-esque style. And it just shows how accessible and visually appealing this technology is. Even OpenAI CEO Sam Altman adopted a Ghibli-style profile picture for himself. That's how mainstream it's become.
And I did read that OpenAI actually tried to put some restrictions on this.
Yes, they apparently attempted to block users from using Studio Ghibli style directly in their prompts. But as you might imagine, people are clever and have found workarounds by, rephrasing their requests to get similar results.
So it makes you wonder how effective these types of restrictions can really be, especially as these AI tools become more powerful and adaptable. It's like a constant game of cat and mouse.
It is, and it leads to a bigger discussion about the long-term implications for creative industries. If AI can mimic artistic style so easily, what does that mean for originality? For the livelihoods of artists? These are really big questions that we're only starting to address.
Right. Will there be a shift in how we define and value art, maybe moving beyond just the technical execution to focus more on the underlying concept or the human intention? It's a conversation that's just getting started, for sure. Now, switching gears a bit, the AI news also highlighted some pretty significant predictions about the future of work, particularly from Bill Gates.
Yes, Bill Gates. He was on The Tonight Show, and he actually predicted a 2-day work week within the next decade, all thanks to AI.
Yeah, he said AI will basically be doing most things for us. And that's a huge change from just a couple of years ago when he predicted a 3-day work week by 2023. I guess the speed of AI development is even exceeding his expectations.
It seems so. His argument boils down to AI becoming sophisticated enough to handle a wide range of tasks, both menial and the more complex, across all sorts of sectors.
And he specifically mentioned fields like medicine and education as areas that could be radically transformed. So those of you listening in those fields or who rely on them, that means AI could be giving you medical advice or even tutoring your kids in the not-so-distant future.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine AI analyzing all your medical data to help with diagnoses, or creating totally customized learning plans for students. It's a pretty big shift.
And we have seen some real-world examples of shorter work weeks, like that 4-day work week trial in Tokyo, and the results were positive, right?
Yeah, pretty promising, actually. They saw things like a 24% boost in productivity in some companies, and burnout rates were cut in half. So it's not just a theory. There's actual data suggesting that a shorter work week, perhaps one enabled by AI, could really work.
But of course, not everyone is so eager to embrace this new way of working. We're also seeing some companies like JP Morgan reinforcing the traditional 5-day in-office model.
Right, and that difference in approach really highlights the ongoing debate about what the future of work looks like in this age of rapidly advancing AI. I mean, there's still a lot to figure out.
And for many listeners, I'm sure the biggest question is, what happens to human jobs if AI can do so much?
For sure, that's a valid concern, especially for sectors like manufacturing, agriculture, logistics, where automation is already a reality. It really underscores how crucial it'll be to, adapt our skills and potentially even retrain for roles that are less susceptible to automation, or ones where humans and AI work together.
Which ties into this idea of AI literacy becoming, well, a must-have skill for pretty much everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. LinkedIn even named AI literacy as the fastest growing skill in 2025. So, regardless of what you do, having a good understanding of how AI works and how to interact with it could be essential for navigating your career going forward.
So it seems like this future with AI could offer us more leisure time and access to all these cool services, but it'll also bring big challenges around job displacement and the need to upskill or even completely change career paths. It's a
Yeah.
complicated situation for sure. Now, let's shift our focus to something a bit more personal. How do we navigate this evolving relationship with AI?
Well, Cornelia Seawalther, she's a thought leader in this space, and she's laid out four really critical questions to help us think about how we integrate AI into our lives, moving beyond just seeing it as a tool to get things done quicker. These are questions that I think will resonate with everyone.
Yeah, let's dive into those.
Yeah.
So, question number one is, why do you use AI? It's about understanding our motivations, going beyond just efficiency, right?
Yes, exactly. Walther's encouraging us to think. Are we using AI to genuinely boost our creativity, to support strategic thinking? Or are we letting it take over, replacing our own initiative, and maybe even hindering our critical thinking skills? It's about being mindful of where we choose to rely on AI and making sure it's amplifying our abilities, not diminishing them. It's about setting boundaries.
Right, so it's not just about offloading tasks, it's about being intentional. And her second question focuses on identity. It asks, who are you as a person?
Right, and this is a really important one. Walther argues that having a solid sense of self, understanding your values, your unique skills, the things that make you you, that's crucial for making smart decisions about AI's role in your life.
So it's about knowing yourself before you let AI shape who you are.
Exactly. And it's also about remembering those uniquely human qualities, empathy, intuition, emotional intelligence. Those are irreplaceable and really valuable, especially in a world where AI is taking on more and more tasks.
Hmm.
So understanding and valuing those human traits will be
Yeah.
essential.
Okay, on to the third question. How can AI best complement your natural intelligence? This is about finding that synergy, working together effectively.
Yeah, it's about viewing AI as a co-pilot, as Walther puts it. It can handle the repetitive tasks, the data crunching, freeing up our brain power for the more complex, the creative stuff. But remember, human judgment, creativity, empathy, those are still vital for interpreting AI suggestions and ultimately making the important decisions.
So AI can help us with things like organization, spotting patterns, brainstorming ideas, but we still need to bring our own insights and understanding to the table.
Exactly. And finally, Walther's fourth question, what will you never delegate to AI? It's about drawing those firm lines in the sand.
And what kinds of areas should we be thinking about here?
Well, it's about identifying those parts of your life that are deeply tied to your identity, your values, your morals. Things like career choices, relationships, the big life decisions. These are areas where human connection, ethical considerations, those should guide you, not algorithms. It's about keeping AI in its place.
So it seems like Walther's overall message is about being deliberate in shaping our relationship with AI, making sure it serves us without eroding our humanity, finding that balance.
Yes, exactly. It's about using AI to enhance our lives without losing sight of what makes us human. Now, moving on, there's a really interesting development in mental health that I think deserves some attention.
Yeah, I read about that. A clinical trial at Dartmouth College using an AI-powered therapy chatbot called Therabot. This is something that could have a really big impact for anyone struggling with mental health issues, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And the results of this trial were actually published today in the New England Journal of Medicine AI. And they paint a really promising picture of what AI could offer in this area. The study focused on people with major depressive disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, and eating disorders, a total of 106 participants.
And how did they interact with Therabot? It was all done through text on a smartphone app, right?
That's right. They basically had text-based conversations with Therabot through an app. Now, what's really interesting is that the chatbot uses generative AI, drawing on principles of psychotherapy and cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, to craft these personalized, open-ended dialogues. Plus, it has built-in safety features to detect and respond to any high-risk situations.
And what were the main outcomes? Did they see any noticeable improvements in the participants' mental health?
The results were actually pretty remarkable. For those struggling with major depression, there was an average 51% reduction in symptoms. That's considered clinically significant. And for generalized anxiety, the average reduction was 31%. Many participants even shifted into the mild anxiety range or went below the threshold for diagnosis altogether. And even for eating disorder concerns, they saw a 19% reduction, which was better than the control group.
That's really impressive, especially considering that almost 75% of the Therabot group weren't receiving any other kind of mental health treatment during the trial. So it really suggests that AI tools like this could provide real support for people who might not have access to, traditional therapy.
Yeah, exactly. It's a potentially huge development in terms of expanding access to care. And what's really interesting is that many users reported forming a kind of therapeutic alliance with Therabot. That sense of trust and collaboration you usually see between a therapist and their patient.
Oh, wow. And they were actually initiating conversations with Therabot themselves, sometimes even late at night. Some even said it felt like talking to a friend.
Yeah, it really underscores that need for connection and support. The average engagement time over the trial was around 6 hours, which is like having 8 therapy sessions. So it really highlights the potential of AI to offer that consistent, readily available support, something that could be game-changing given the shortage of mental health professionals.
Of course, it's important to remember that AI should complement human caregivers, not replace them.
For sure. The researchers were very clear about that. It's about responsible integration. Human oversight is still essential, especially in complex cases or high-risk situations. It's also encouraging to know that Therabot has been in development since 2019, so there's been a strong focus on safety and efficacy. But they did caution against, rushing untested AI solutions into something as sensitive as mental health.
Right. There needs to be a balance between innovation and responsible development. But overall, this seems like a potentially transformative step towards better mental health care for everyone.
It's a really promising area for sure. And finally, let's look at how AI is starting to impact another crucial field, academic research. A study out of the University of Florida actually set out to determine if generative AI could potentially replace human researchers. So for all you academics out there, this one's for you.
Yeah, I saw that. They put AI models like ChatGPT, Copilot, and Gemini through their paces, testing them at 6 key stages of the research process. From coming up with initial research ideas to actually drafting a manuscript. It's a fascinating study.
Yeah, the goal was to see where AI shines, but also where it falls short, where that human element is still absolutely necessary.
So what did they find? Should we expect to see AI churning out all the research papers in the future?
Well, not so fast. While AI did show promise in the early stages, generating research questions, helping with some aspects of research design, it struggled with the more complex tasks.
Like actually reviewing all the existing research and putting it into context.
Exactly. AI wasn't so great at conducting those really in-depth, nuanced literature reviews, and it had a tough time analyzing the results and offering meaningful interpretations. Those are things that still require human critical thinking, intuition, being able to see the bigger picture.
And what about actually writing the research paper? Was AI up to the task?
It struggled there too. The AI-generated content often lacked that coherence, the nuance, the academic rigor that you expect in a published research paper. It still needed a lot of human editing to get it up to par.
So it seems like the key takeaway is that AI could be a helpful research tool, but it's not replacing human researchers anytime soon.
Absolutely. The study concluded that while AI can assist with certain tasks, it's the human researcher who remains at the helm. The director, the critic, the creative force driving the research process.
So they're basically saying use AI, but don't blindly trust it. Always verify what it produces.
Precisely. And they also had some recommendations for academic journals. They suggested implementing policies that require authors to disclose any AI assistance they used, and possibly even restricting AI's use in peer review to ensure the integrity of the evaluation process.
And there was also some discussion about the ethical implications of AI in research, right? Like, even if AI could theoretically replace human researchers, should we let it?
Yeah, that's a really important point. Assistant Professor Jeff Tomano brought this up. He talked about the inherent human aspects of research, the curiosity, the problem solving, the thrill of discovery. Those are really fulfilling aspects of being a researcher. And ultimately, he believes it'll be up to each researcher to decide what parts of the process they're comfortable delegating to AI and what should remain a uniquely human endeavor. He even coined the term cyborg behavioral researcher, which envisions a collaborative approach, where AI is enhancing human intelligence, not replacing it.
So it sounds like the future of AI in research is going to be one of collaboration,
Hmm.
with AI supporting and amplifying human capabilities, but not taking over completely.
That seems to be the direction it's headed. AI as a powerful assistant, but human intellect remaining at the heart of scientific discovery.
Well, this deep dive into the top AI news for today has been quite the journey. We've explored the artistic world, the potential for a dramatically different work week, groundbreaking advancements in mental health care, and even the evolving landscape of research. And what's really striking is how AI is not just a technological trend, it's fundamentally reshaping so many aspects of our lives.
It's a rapidly evolving field, and keeping up with these developments is crucial for all of us.
Absolutely. So, as we wrap up, here's a final thought for you to consider. Given all that we've explored today, AI's ability to mimic creativity, automate tasks, provide therapeutic support, and assist in research, but still relying on human judgment, critical thinking, and empathy, what aspect of human experience do you believe will remain most distinctly human, least susceptible to AI influence, and why? It's a question worth pondering as we all navigate this increasingly AI-driven world. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.